And then we're going to bring this on to Facebook. So we're doing everything today, and we're going to see how this works. So first off, welcome to the podcast. And in a minute, once we get all live on Facebook, I'm going to bring my friend Kelly on. So I'm just waiting for that to come on and let her introduce herself to everyone. So just got to wait on this. All right, we are live. Woohoo! Jody and her limited technological background is somehow figuring this stuff out. So I'm kind of proud of myself. See, I tell people all the time, like, you can do anything. All right, so just a little bit of a background. Kelly and I met probably, what, a year ago now, huh?
Yeah.
In about a year, yeah. So we met about a year ago. And it was pretty interesting how we met because I was the grinding it out mom who was in her apartment all day and all evening and trying to figure out just, oh my gosh, life was just so overwhelming at that time for me. So when I met Kelly, it's a godsend because she was the mom who just loved her children, and she made me realize that I wasn't spending enough time with mine. So Jazzy actually knew her before I did. And one day I just came out of the apartment and there was Kelly with her two small children at the park playing with Jazzy and her kids. And I finally just went out there and we've been friends ever since. She's just an amazing person, an amazing soul. And I'm just so grateful to know her. But I'm going to allow her to get on here now and just kind of introduce herself and, whatever you want to tell everyone. So go ahead.
Okay. I homeschool my children, 3 and 6 years old. And I started September of 18 of last year, I guess. Of 18, so not even 2 years. Last year was my first full year, and I really just decided to do it on my own, and went kind of through some struggles because I didn't know anybody else who homeschooled, and I used a lot of YouTube, like searching other homeschooling moms and getting tips that way, and then kind of just coming up with my own stuff.
Yeah.
But this last year has been interesting because we started again in September, but things changed in December. I have a truck driving husband, and we decided to go out on the road with him, all 4 of us in the truck, and me and the kids in the back, every day homeschooling. Yeah. So that's 4 months. Yeah.
So what do you think? So that was a huge transition because I know, so Kelly and I, just for everyone out there, Kelly and I lived in the same apartment complex, and she had, she homeschooled in her home. So she had, stabilization and all that good stuff. So what do you think? Because now with the coronavirus outbreak, most of us who don't normally homeschool are now becoming homeschool parents. And many of us, like, I'm just truly grateful that I am a lot better mentally at this point in my life than I was even when I met you. Just because I honestly don't think I would have handled this like I am now if this had happened last year. I probably would have been freaking out. I'm not even gonna lie. So, what do you think, when you guys went through that transition, what do you think helped you the most? I know we both talk a lot about spirituality and things like that, but as far as what did you implement to still be able to have some kind of task achievement and still be able to keep your kids on task?
Um, hmm. I still have a lot of learning and changing to do myself, but I can just say, I guess taking the time over the weekend before the week starts to prepare, to think about what they need. So one is really not in homeschool. He's only 3, but my 6-year-old, we have to meet the standards for our state, for Florida.
Right.
So I do researching just really online. Everything is just on my own, and to see, where she needs to be to pass the grade that she's in. So yeah, I kind of just do my own research and see what they need, and use the resources I have, or find something from the store to add to what she needs for
Yeah.
her lesson. So.
Well, that's really good. I mean, that's one of the things that I always talk about. And it's interesting because, I tell people all the time, like, I used to coach people on this stuff and I wasn't doing it. And so it really just took me like realizing, like, I need to start doing the stuff that I'm telling other people to do. So one of the big things was planning ahead and scheduling. And like for us, I think I took a picture the other day. I have my notebook here. And I know not everybody is going to go to this extent, but in the morning, I have my me time. This morning, I did not wake up on time, but I try as much as possible to just get up a little bit earlier and get myself in a good state of mind, because that way I'm able to just be a better person, I think, for the rest of the day. As long as I'm grateful for what I have and I wake up on a positive note. Now when I wake up, I'm always like, thank you for waking me up. Even if it's just as simple as that, and just being grateful. But one of the other things that I do is the night before, because I'll have a schedule for the week, but like for Duval County, they were on spring break last week. So this is the first week that we have technically been homeschooling. So the teachers have had to learn how to use technology for the kids. And the parents have had to learn how to keep it together, especially for some of the parents who, like me, either work from home, or some parents are out of work right now. So that it's already a stressful situation. So I know one of the things that I'm trying to help people with is just, trying to just remember what they have when they wake up, because that way they're not super stressed and overwhelmed the rest of the day. Because one of the things I noticed last year is when I was overwhelmed, I was putting that stress out on Jazzy, and I didn't even realize that. So that's one of the things that I try to get people to realize, like, whatever they're going through, whatever energy they're putting out, their kids are going to kick right up on that. And when I started changing, Jazzy started changing. And I was like, wow, this is okay. Like, how simple could that have been, right? But we have tasks, and I actually include her now too. So I don't know if that's something that you do, but like we actually sat down on Sunday night because we knew that on Monday we were going to have certain things to do. And we sat down together on Monday night, and I said, okay, what are we going to do? Even though they hadn't implemented exactly what they were going to do as far as when she logged in, she knew that she could do a thing called iReady. She could do this thing called, they have this thing called Freckle. So she knew that. So I said, well, if nothing else, we have those 3 things. She knew she had to read a certain amount of time. So that was just something I involved her. I asked her questions like, what are you guys doing at school? And she didn't know everything, which was weird. But, she was able to at least remember the computer stuff. And so I just involved her and I said, okay, well, from this time to this time, we're going to do this. The biggest thing I said was, when I'm going to wake you up early and we're going to go walk Surrey, because exercising helps me first thing in the morning. So why would it not help my child? Right. And anybody, I know I have some people who, we all, some of us have our kids ADHD and stuff like that. And there are some out there that have like autistic children. I have a friend who's going through that right now. And one of the things that I, try to help them with is, what helps me is getting her out and getting her moving before we try to sit down and concentrate on anything. And that helps me too, because what I realized in trying and going through all that with her is I'm kind of like that too. I was all over the place, and there was no wonder why I wasn't getting anything done, because my brain was just like, woo, 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 all over the place. And I had to really just hone in on that and become aware of it. And so that's really, I think, been the biggest thing that's helped me out, is learning what works for me and then being able to share that with her, and not forcing her to do things, but including her. So it's not like I'm dictating her. I'm not saying you have to get this done, you have to get this done. But if she starts getting off task, I'll look at my notebook and I'll be like, hey, from this time to this time, you're supposed to be doing this. Can we get back on that? Like, and then I don't know if you do this, but we also take brain breaks. Do you guys do that? Do you do that with your kids?
No, I haven't done that. No. I know different ages are different.
Yeah.
So Jamari's already taken his breaks anyway. Like when he, because he's got poor attention span. So he goes and plays with toys. I make sure toys are nearby so he can just go off whenever he gets out of it. So, and that's okay, because really in our state, at least, you're not really homeschooled until 5 years old.
Right.
So he's getting a lot of the preparation, but
yeah.
For Yala, we just take a regular break. I can see when she starts, just kind of putting her hand up or getting uninterested looking.
Yeah.
And I never called it brain breaks, but yeah, I'm like, okay, it's snack time. That's when I want to get her pumped back up. But yeah, we've done the same thing. Like when we lived at the apartment, not really working out, but we would step out before. I would just kind of see where they're at and how, if they're real excited and energetic, then we'll just get started. But if they're not into it, I don't want to do school today, then I will take them outside, because that's always been my thing, even when they're babies, to, let them get outside, get out of the environment that we're going to be in for a few hours or a couple hours, and just see something different, get some fresh air, sunshine, and then, just get them started. And I noticed the difference with that, when we started that way. And lately being here, sometimes I'll do a workout before, like I started yesterday with the workout, and we do, Jamari being 3 and Yala still, being 6 and enjoying like the sing-along things.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten into, I told you I use YouTube a lot, and I found Jack Hartman on YouTube. It's like a 3-minute video, and he's counting to 100, which is really good for Jamari being 3.
Yeah.
But he's counting by ones, but going 1 to 10 with one movement, and then 10 to 20 with another movement, all the way to 100. So we're working out, exercising, and working that brain before school. So sometimes we do it inside, sometimes we do it outside, and so that really helps.
That's amazing. And I love that you brought that up, because there's a lot of moms out there, and I don't want to exclude any single dad, so I'm not going to say just moms, because this is for any parent right now who is having to learn how to homeschool. That is some really good information, because there are a lot of parents out there who have smaller children, and now they're trying to figure out, maybe they were used to having the small child with them and the other one was at school, so now they're having to try to figure out, okay, well, how do I teach the older child and the keep the small child engaged? So that was some valuable information for anyone.
I think that was my hardest thing, now thinking about it. And I'm getting better with it, because I've focused more on it. But when I started, I didn't even think of that and consider it. Nyala was 5, Jamari was 2, and I would still be sitting him down at the desk, because that's what we were doing at the time.
Right.
And I would be things for him to do hands-on, but he's not always going to be able to sit for as long as she can. But I need to sit there with her. So it's like, you know, what do you do? And like I said, there are a lot of resources on YouTube, but yeah, that's a really good thing to look into if you have even just kids at different ages too. They may be above 6, but 2 or 3 years apart, they're on different levels. They're doing different work. So you got to get them, you got to engage them both somehow.
Yeah. Well, I know with Jazzy, and even with me, you know, like I was saying earlier, once I started becoming aware of myself, it's hard for me to concentrate past a certain time. And I started thinking about some of the studies that the military did back when I was taking classes, and even I was an instructor for a little while, and our classes couldn't go longer than 50-minute increments. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, well, that was because they had done these studies, and our brains typically, even the adult brain, after 50 minutes, even 45 minutes, we're already, we've tuned out. We've tuned out and we're on something else. So if we think about, okay, that's adults, right? So if we think about our kids, and then especially anyone like high strung, Jazzy, anybody that knows her, she is super high strung. I joke around all the time and say I wish I could make a pre-workout out of her, because that would be, she's just all over the place. So for her, I was like, okay, this child is not going to be able to sit down for longer than maybe 30 minutes at a time. And then we'll take a 5 to 10 minute break. And so, you know, and then with her reading the first day, because she's supposed to read at least 20 minutes, and then she reads at night too. But the reading on the first day, she read the whole 20 minutes. But then the second, third, and fourth, she asked, like, can we break it up 10 and 10? And I was like, yeah, because, you know, as long as they get it done. So I think one of the biggest things that I think people need to realize too is you have to be flexible sometimes. Because as long as the task, like as long as I'm in my notebook checking stuff off and the tasks are getting done, okay, if it takes a few minutes longer, whatever, you know, like, so, I mean, I think it's just been a learning experience for sure for all of us. But how do you feel about now you're the subject matter expert in this? Like,
So you have to know your children, and that's one thing. And then it comes to what you're good at as far as preparing anyway with what you do and your clients stuff. So you have to do the same thing with your children now for all these new homeschooling parents.
Yes.
Know your children, and if you know them, like what you just explained, you know to not go too long at a time before you give them a break. And maybe some are really, really in tune and really, really interested in certain subjects, and they may be on that certain thing for an hour at a time and be okay with it. So you need to know them, and then do what you do best, which is prepare in that way. So you can either, whatever works for you, prepare daily if you know, we're all new at this. So prepare daily if you need to as things change, because they are going to be changing a lot. And then especially on the weekend, take your time on the weekend, because that's very vital and important, because a lot of times during the week you're not going to have a lot of time to just sit down. And even if you do have time, you might not be all the way there and have enough energy to prepare like you need to. So just even take 30 minutes to an hour, whatever you need to get it prepared, think about what you're going to do for the week, and plan out the times that everything will take, and know your child and what, you know, will work for them and what they need more or less of.
That's good. And I mean, another thing that I was saying earlier is knowing yourself too. I had to learn myself. I had to learn that I didn't have a lot of patience. I had to learn that, you know, planning ahead was better for me. I had to learn that it kept me from being all stressed out and overwhelmed. And I also had to learn that I couldn't get 30 or 40 different tasks done in one day, because I'm only one person. So that was something I had to learn about myself. And it's something that as I was going through that journey, it was actually kind of cool, because I was able to help other people like I had other moms that I was working with, and I was telling them like, hey, I just had to do this. Like, why don't you try this? And it was working for them too. So it, sometimes I think we try to do too much. And then if we don't get it all done at the end of the day, then that's when that stress, and then we feel overwhelmed, and we're like, like feeling like a failure or whatever. And we just have to remember that we're stronger than we think, and our kids are watching us, so it's really important. I know for me, when all this started, I actually asked Tori to kind of stop watching the news so much, because he was watching it a lot, and it was kind of scaring her, I could tell. And so I just explained to her, I said, this is why we drink a lot of water, this is why we eat better, this is why we exercise, this is why, and I know, like I tell people all the time, I'm not going to be able to combat everything. My family history is all jacked up, and that's why I did start becoming healthier, because I didn't want to get anything else. But we're not going to be able to combat everything, but if we can at least plan for what we can control, and at least have a good attitude about the stuff we can control, then that's going to kind of tip over into the stuff that we can't control. So then when stuff happens that's out of our control, like nobody planned for this, right? So those of us who were kind of already positive and keeping our kids positive and stuff like that, I think we're handling a little bit better. And I'm just hopeful, and I'm praying for all those people out there that aren't able to handle this very good right now. And I just hope that they're able to gain some clarity and some understanding, and just remember that nobody's perfect, and it takes a lot. It takes practice. Everything takes practice, and we just have to remember that we're all kind of learning as we go, and eventually, by the time these kids go back to school, we're going to have it all down pat. And then we'll be like, oh, now they're going back.
Right.
Yeah. But I know, I think I heard Georgia is out of school for the rest of the year. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, because since you're kind of out of Florida, but that's what I've heard. So I don't know how true that is. And then Florida, I guess they're talking about doing that.
So out of school?
Like the rest of the year out of school.
I haven't heard that for Georgia. I haven't heard that for this area.
Okay.
They were, I think, trying not to scare kids, parents, both,
right?
Because they were saying that they were going to be out of school for 2 weeks, and then we just heard today that they're extending it for 2 more weeks.
Right.
When we all know that it's possible, since we're so close to the end of the school year, that it will be to the end. But like I said, maybe they're trying not to scare people and just do it in 2-week increments, to not say it's over, we're done for the year. So
I would just say, I mean, for anybody out there, I think for me anyway, it's better for me to just prepare like that mentally, prepare for them to just be out of school, because that way, if they do end up going back to school, it'll be like, okay, cool, But really, I just hope that people are kind of using this time wisely to get closer to their children too. Like me and Jazzy, I think have gotten even closer over this last week. And, it's pretty cool, and I've seen a lot of families in our neighborhood like out riding bikes and walking, and in the mornings when we're out, I'll see other kids will be out, and it's like other parents are realizing like I should get my kids out early in the morning too. Like everybody's starting to kind of pick up on that. And it's actually, I think about it and I'm like, this is the time that we really need to cherish, because I lost so many years with my daughter and just not being there. And it wasn't my fault. Like I was in the military, and a lot of times we had to leave, but I missed out on a lot of her life. So for me, this is allowing me to get closer to her. And then she's also seeing what I do more. So it's not like she's not thinking I'm just sitting around all day, which I don't think she thought that anyway, but like she's seeing I'm getting stuff done, and then I'm including her. I'm like, hey, like the other day I was like, wow, if something were to happen to me, I don't have anything in place to where somebody could take over, cancel payments, anything like that. Like nobody would know how to do that. So I was like, wow, I need to make like a continuity book. And it was so funny because Jazzy kept saying conduity book. She couldn't say it. But I was like, wow, in the military we had continuity books. Now I know why they have those. And so I was like, I need to make it. And I said, you know what though? I need to make it to where a 10-year-old can read it. And so I just asked her, I was like, what are some things that you think that you would want to know, or, whatever. And so it's pretty cool, it's just allowing me to kind of think differently, because when you're around adults all the time, you don't think the same.
No.
Like, I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yes. Yeah, you do. You have to have a lot of patience. And that actually was my word. I have a word for each year, and patience was definitely my word for my first year of homeschooling. And that helped out a lot when like I felt like they weren't, like you said, like everything wasn't being checked off each day. Like, oh, okay, I have this plan and I have this idea in mind. But again, like I said, know your children, know their age, and just, accept that every child is going to learn at different paces. And so, yeah, you can't just go in expecting so much. You have to just observe and plan accordingly to what works.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And then, what you said about knowing your kids, that's super important. Like I've watched Jazzy in the past, and I realized that if she's given like a leadership kind of role, or she's given like where she has to figure it out, then she loves that and she kind of thrives on that. I don't know where she gets that from. But it seems like when I say, okay, here's your task, and like I had it written down on Monday, like this is what you need to get done. And she wasn't even supposed, she had a writing assignment, and like she loves to write, so that's kind of cool. But she wasn't even supposed to do the whole thing, and she ended up doing the whole entire thing. So that was pretty cool. And so that was one less thing she had to do for the rest of the week, because she was supposed to be working on that for the rest of the week. And so that's one of the things I told her. I was like, when because I did a lot of online college, and as long as I had my assignments at the beginning of the week, once I learned not to procrastinate, because I'm going to go ahead and say I used to procrastinate a lot. But like, I think by the time I was probably about halfway through my master's, I kind of stopped procrastinating. So, but it was like, okay, I'm getting my stuff at the beginning of the week. So if I just go ahead and knock it out, then I don't have to worry about it the rest of the week. So if I had time, I would just go ahead and work on it, and then it would be done. So it's kind of interesting watching her do that, and and just giving her that flexibility, and just letting her know, like, school doesn't have to be from 8:30 to 4 o'clock or whatever. If you get your stuff done, you're done. And now guess what? And it's funny, I saw this meme earlier, because it was like my dad, like our kids are gonna have it's gonna be AP washing dishes or something. It was so funny. And I was like, yeah, now she's got time to wash dishes, she's got time to help clean, she's got time like making it where it's not horrible, I think is so important for people right now. Like, just remembering you will never get this time back with your kids. So cherish it right now, and I know there are some people that are really stressed out because they are out of work. I have a friend, she's got 5 kids, and she's out of work right now. I don't really know how that's going for her, and I'm going to check in with her here pretty soon. But I can't imagine, being a single mom out of work right now with 5 kids of all different ages. They're all different ages. So, I know that there are times where they're going to be stressed and they're going to be overwhelmed. But I don't know. What do you think we should tell people that are going through stuff like that? Like, just to stay positive. I try to tell people to stay positive, but it's easier said than done,
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say when, up until you said, you had a friend that was single with 5 kids, like you can't just only stay positive. But I think just reiterating always to plan, like just find some time, block out some time somehow to just plan the week, or like I said, even plan the day to day if you can, if just the whole week is too overwhelming. but plan your next day out from morning to night. Just plan everything of how, times and how that's going to work. Just filling everything in, even where you're going to fit in laundry, where you're going to fit in time to go outside.
That's funny. That's what I do. Like, here's my notebook and it's all written down. Like,
so I know, I know you know that. And a lot of people don't think about that. They are just, like you said, they're in stressful mindset right now. And they're just like, okay, I can't wait. I'm just checking the schedule every day, checking online to see when the kids are going back to school, just like, when can we get out of this? But no, just instead, just be calm, be positive. Yes, of course, patience. But if you're spiritual, pray, use time to, pray and just focus on God and his plan. But, for everyone overall, just plan out the days and just do the best you can, and don't expect too much at first, and take it a day at a time.
That's a good one. That expectation thing. That expectation thing, and that goes for that's huge, because even like I realized when I was coaching people, like sometimes I had too high of expectations for them. And, with my daughter, it was too high of expectations. With our spouses, I think sometimes we have too high of expectations. And then we have to remember.
That was my hard one.
Yeah. And then we have to remember too, like, even with me, I had really, truly high expectations. And I had to kind of just let that go a little bit and just realize, like, okay, I might not be where I want to be, but I'm okay. I'm farther ahead than I was 5 years ago, and I think as long as we just continue to, remember that we're okay, and we've gotten through so much stuff in our lives. Like, most of us have been through way worse than this in our lives. And if we've gotten through that, why can't we get through this? But I know most of us, and I'm just as guilty because I used to do it too. It was the here and the now. And we forget about what we've been through before and how we came out of that. We only are thinking about what we're going through right now. And it seems like the worst case scenario. But if you make it something positive, like I had to really just restructure that thought. I said restructure that thought and just say, you know what? I'm going to use this time to spend more time with my daughter. I'm going to use this time to kind of show her what I'm doing. She asked me one day if she could take over the business. That was kind of pretty cool. But she mentioned that, and this was before all the coronavirus stuff. She mentioned that, and she said, but I don't know how to be a business person. And I said, baby, I didn't either. Like, I said, but I'll teach you. and I think that if we just learn how, because a lot of people are working from home right now too. And, if we just learn how to implement our kids, like I had a call yesterday and our kids were in the room, and, it was okay. It's okay to be a parent and still work from home. And if people that you're working with don't understand that, then maybe they're not the right people for you to work with,
Right.
But that takes a long time to get to that. I didn't wake up like that, believe me. I used to think everything had to be perfect. It had to be perfect. But it doesn't.
Right.
And perfection is what you make it. So, Kellie, I am truly grateful for you. We're going on about 35 minutes now, so I didn't want to go too much longer. But hopefully everyone out there got a ton of value from this. You and I have been talking about doing a podcast for so long, and I'm really hoping that this one works out. But anytime, I plan on doing these once a week. So anytime that you have something that you want to discuss or get on here, it's going to be a show. I'm going to commit. I'm committing.
I'll be back. Yay.
And I appreciate you taking the time out from your kids and your family right now to get on here. And hopefully between the both of us, we helped some people out tonight. And I'm going to be putting this on the YouTube channel, so hopefully we can help some more.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks again. And you guys have a great night. Tell everybody I said hey.
All right, you too.
And I love you guys.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.